Meeting to order, and Cecil is going to do our pledge for us. Pledge to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Good evening. We're just trying to get us started here. Thank you all for coming tonight. This is, I'm calling the Monday, 2/23/26 board meeting to order a while ago. And we do have a quorum. Sean Taylor will be joining us a little bit late. So comments for the record from the president. Wow. Thank you again to our security and public works staff for all the severe weather stuff. I don't know if you realized it, but that happened this month, and it seems like it was just yesterday, but they did a tremendous job. And I want to say thanks to Rich, who stayed on the phone with everybody and trying to make sure things were okay. Um, but we appreciate, for the most part, everyone being safe, although I understand the emergency room had a few people visit from Lake Kiowa because of their slips on the ice or whatever. And so I hope those people are doing well. Now, I'm moving on to comments from the members. Do any of the members have any comments? And if you do, we need your name and lot number. All right. I got one. Okay. Mark.
Mark Lundgren, 1570. So I want to also give accolades to the security folks. They really seem to be going out of the way to keep everything safe for us. One of the things that it seems like they're under fire for lately is for their careful watching over the speed limit. And I have to say that I cannot believe that people go as fast as they do on these roads. I'm a dog walker and I've had a few near misses the last couple months. And I wish that people would please just pay more attention and slow down. These roads are pretty narrow. I think 25 miles an hour is appropriate. If you disagree, take it up with the board.
Is anyone else? I will say that if you come to some of our chat meetings on Wednesday night, Mark gave us a great analysis of 25 miles an hour versus 30 miles an hour of the speed limit of driving that. And because he's a numbers guy, he interpolated and everything, did his analysis. And if you drive 30 miles an hour in here from where you're going versus 25, it means you get to the front entrance, what, a minute and a half faster. There you go. So just wanted you to know in case you had any questions about that. So Mark did that work for us. Anyone else? Well, all right, let's move on. And next is meeting minutes from our last special board meeting that we did on Zoom on January 29th. Do I have a motion to approve them? Chris? Is there a second? And Larry seconds it. Larry seconds. All right. Is there any discussion?
Just clerical. You still got 2025 on your template. Probably you may go ahead and change it. It's on today's as well, but change it to 26. Good year.
Any other additions, deletions, questions, or anything? Okay. The motion before you is to approve the meeting minutes from our board meeting on January the 29th, 2026. All those in favor, raise your hand. And we have anybody opposed? We have one abstention, correct? Right. All right. And so the motion passes. You have 6 to 0, and 1 abstention. All right. Next on our agenda is our treasurer's update.
All right, how's that? That's a little better. All right. So as I was saying, January one month against the new budget, and actually the numbers are pretty good overall. If you look at the bottom line, revenue was up. We'll talk about that in a second. The lodge actually had a good month from a revenue perspective, even though it was closed for a period of time due to the ice storm, which is great to see. Expenses a little bit down, so we start the year with $15,000 to the good on the budget. Scott, can we roll to the next one? On the revenue side, as I said, started a little higher. Lodge was up $8,000, and considering the fact it was closed for what, 5 days, 4 days, something like whole week. So, taking a week out to still have that kind of, food and beverage sales is impressive. Building permits were up a couple over what we anticipated, but obviously that varies from month to month. Sanitation fee, last year we were a little bit behind on that because they changed the rate due to inflation, different than we budgeted. This year we need to fix the budget. We calculated it a little slightly wrong. So we're behind this month, but we'll be able to fix that going forward. On the expense side, Scott, again, we're in pretty good shape. Public Works was, very good, $12,000 lower on expenses. You see $11,000 in expenses on lodge, and $5,000 on food inventory because the lodge was closed for close to a week. We had a lot of spoilage, things had to be thrown out. So we had to rebuy things. So, we're a little bit higher on the food expense. All right, moving forward. The reserve fund balances are pretty straightforward. We will be doing a couple of things on the reserve funds in the next couple of months. One is updating the work that Rich did last year around, what do those reserve funds look like over the next 5-10 years. When you guys have a chance to look at the measures or the KPIs, you'll see that none of those reserve funds, CARF being different, but the other dedicated reserve funds are not, in great shape. Delinquencies are pretty much the same. We talked about income. It's pretty straightforward given where we are in the initiation fee, just a little bit for the 1 month. All right, next slide. Where we are from a cash perspective. Again, we have $260,000 at the bank for, payrolls, covering all the different things that we know we're going to need to pay for in the short term. And then $5.5 million for the reserve funds. Again, people react to $5.5 million. Oh my God. But all of that is dedicated to different bullet point or different items. So that money really is not available to spend except for what it's designated for. If we move to the next slide, you'll see more specifically what I'm talking about. If you look in the middle section, funds by internal account, 1.5 million of that money is for ARF. ARF is to spend on replacements, anything that we bought that we need to refurbish or replace. $200,000 for contingency. That's for unexpected expenses during the year. We had to use some of that last year to cover a small budget loss. Lake management, LMRF is only for the lake. GCRF, the golf course reserve fund, that's only to be spent on the 18-hole golf course. So as you see, you go down through that, there's most of that money is earmarked towards those projects and can only be spent on those projects. So if you move to the next slide, you see where the money's invested. This month is a little bit weird because we had a number of CDs that matured right at the end of the month and wasn't reinvested until early February. So you see those negative numbers on the bottom, and that's just a timing thing. So when you look at it in February, you'll see all that was reinvested, and we moved a lot of money, Crystal moved a lot of money into the Fidelity account, so we get a little bit of rates with the treasuries that are there in the money market that the money is invested to as part of a core account. All right, moving forward. Greens fees, we can skip through that. Not very exciting after 1 month. So the last piece, I just want to spend a second to talk about, one of the things this board and boards before us and the Ways and Means Committee has really been focused on is trying to continue to provide more information to the members so they can understand what's going on within the POA. Where do their dues go? How is it spent? How their decisions are made around the money. So we created a series of articles, and this is really kind of announcing that series. So the idea is to come out on a regular basis, constant contact, and in the communique to provide education. And then Rich is working with Kendall to find a place on the Kiowa website to store all these articles so people can see, once it's in the communique, you don't have to remember which article or which month it was in. You can just go to the webpage. You can look up any of these articles going forward. So this Friday's constant contact, we're going to announce the series, even though really the series started last December. Rich did a great job putting together an article around how we do budgeting and what's the budgeting process. So that's really was the first article in the series, even though we're announcing it now. In next month's communique, there'll be a talk about the treasurer's report, what's in it, how to interpret it, what is it, what it's not. And then we have some other items that are, in process that we're looking at. So talking more about KPIs, what are they and why do we use them? Operating budget versus reserves, what's the difference between the dedicated reserve fund and non-dedicated reserve fund? And then, one around the question we get all the time is, board, why are my dues going up? Why can't you guys, just make the dues go down? Why are keeping them the same? So really trying to talk through what are all the pressures on the budget that we have. So there's probably 9 or 10 other ideas that are out there. As I said, Ways and Means has been talking about this for a long time. Bob Liabo started this process probably 1.5 years ago. But it really is now, it's kind of picking up on it and started with that article that Rich created for the December communique. So any other ideas, anyone from, that wants to email me with thoughts around what would be a great topic to explain to the community, the Ways and Means and committee and myself are really open to anything that you guys think will be helpful. All right. Any questions on anything I just presented? All right. Thank you.
Did the board have questions? No questions? Okay. All right. You're good. Well, that's what we really do, but we'll let you just one time.
Special day.
Thank you. Paul Sellers, 1570. I just had one question. It said par 3 maintenance. Shouldn't that be in a separate thing because it's funded by the par 3 itself, but it's mixed in with the other?
It's not mixed in. It's actually a separate account. So all that money goes to the POA, and the POA actually spends it, even though it comes from donations.
Okay.
So it is in a dedicated account, and it only can be spent on the par 3.
Okay.
So you see about
confusing when it's in there. It looks like it's mixed in with this when it should be this fund and this fund is a separate thing all by itself.
yeah, and it's really yeah.
Okay.
Right. So it comes from the donations that goes to the POA to actually be spent, but it is in a separate account. It's all accounted for separately. But you're right. It does look a little confusing when you see that big listing, but it's completely accounted for separately.
And just one other note, we actually invest that money as well with everything else. So the par 3 benefits of the same process we do with interest. So, we're investing their money as well.
Okay. All right. Moving on. We're going to go to our committee and business updates. The first one on there is to approve committee changes. You have in your packet committee changes, and it's just one. We're removing Bill Little from Lake Management and the nominating committee. And at this time, that's all that I have received on those. Is there a motion to approve that change? Thank you. Cecil? Second. And Dylan seconds it. All right. All right. All those in favor of making that committee change with Bill Little, raise your hand. All right. 8-0 there, Kendall. All right, next on the agenda is our ad hoc watercraft lake and rules committee that we talked about. So here are the names that I have so far that have said that they would participate. You just take one and pass it down. And so right now I have Sean Taylor as the board liaison. Sean will be going off the bar. The bar. He'll stay on the bar, but he's going off the board in March, and so he's a lawyer, so he will be joining the committee in March, if you will, from that perspective, and then we will choose another board liaison. People that have agreed to participate up to this point. I still have some names that are out there in request and haven't heard back. Let's see, I have Dina Fag, Jeff Hecker, Casey, is it Razul, and Mike Renbrandt, Gerald Smith, Dan Stark, and Eric Twining. And those are the people I have so far. Any questions about those or anything? No, I ask. Yes, I know. Yes, that's correct. Not everybody's responded. Not everybody's been sent out information for everything. So I'm just trying to go through and trying to get a committee that we have of around 10 to 12 people. So that way it's not too overwhelming. But those people have responded back yes as of today. Okay. And I used both. I had two great lists that people have given me, and then some other people had sent me emails. And so that's sort of how I went back and worked that through. Okay. Any questions on those people so far or anything? And so somebody asked me this on the board, is that technically the president can choose those people because it's an ad hoc committee, or you can approve them. And so if you'd like to approve them at this point in time, we can do so if you choose to make a motion. If not, I'm going to continue appointing those people on the ad hoc committee. No, not at all. You can add more people to it. Actually, the president can add more people to it. Okay. All right. Chris and Ronnie. All right. Any other questions or anything? Okay. All those in favor of including those people on that committee? Okay. All right. Thank you very much. All right. Close that sheet of paper and go to the next one, right? All right. Next on our agenda is, let's see, golf committee. Ronnie. I did? What did I skip? Oh, I did. How did I forget that? Sorry, Dan. Mission and Values Committee, ad hoc committee.
Great.
Thanks, Chris.
All right. Thank you again. So before I start, I want to call out a few people. Last July, we created an ad hoc committee of folks to work on this based on some of the presentations and discussions we had in May and June. So Bob Hyde, Mike Demarest really did yeoman's work in this as part of the ad hoc committee. Amy Harrell, who is here, did a great job. She really helped us get across the finish line with the working groups, which I really appreciated. Sandy Hare really got us off to a good start on the committee, and helped us from a structure and perspective. So all the way through, those folks spent hours and hours and hours of time as we went through this process. So in your package is the project plan. So I'm not going to go through that in detail, but you at least can, this is what I presented, I think in August of last year. This is the most up-to-date version of where we are. And where we are, segue to the presentation, is through the process, we now get to the point we have a recommendation to present to the board and hopefully gain approval. This started with a number of discussions. We did the survey last September. We had over 300 responses to the survey. We did focus groups. We did a session with all of you to get your input. And then over the last few weeks, we did multiple working sessions with members to take some of the ideas and concepts that we had, which I shared with you all probably 3 weeks ago or so, to refine those down to the final recommendation. All right. So that's where we are. So the next slide just kind of starts back on where we really kind of revisiting where we started, what the opportunity is, why this is important. We did not have a mission. Well, we didn't have a vision statement for Kiowa. We had a mission statement that was done in 01, but really was more of a description of Kiowa than it really was a mission or purpose. So we didn't really have that strategic framework that would endure as community managed change, as board members change, as board presidents change. And one thing we do know, besides people at this table changing, we know the world around us is changing. Just driving down 377 or 35, you just see all kinds of differences, and all that will be here very quickly. So having this kind of framework to help us make decisions will be really, truly helpful to make sure we're representing the community and what the community wants. So next slide. So really this is going back to the same idea, the other side of it. If you don't have that framework, you don't necessarily have that alignment, you don't necessarily have that long-term plan. And with a mission and vision, it really helps, I think, for everyone to understand what we're doing, why we're trying to do it, and how do we make sure that we continue to adapt appropriately for the changes that are forced upon us as the world changes around us. Next slide, please. For us, we have that framework, make sure that everyone knows what we're doing, why we're doing it. We don't have to waste a lot of time on things that are not appropriate within that strategic framework. I think it really helps us from our communication perspective. Next slide is about the residents. Again, if all the work we've done to try to coalesce the ideas into a couple of short statements, hopefully gets a sense of purpose and identity. This is something that we'll share at every new members meeting. I'm sure if I was a real estate agent here, I would use this information as part of my prospecting, trying to get people to move here. Next slide, please. So I'm going to roll through the vision, mission, and values one time, and then I'm going to come back because they're all supposed to work together. So let me roll through the 3 different pieces, and then we'll come back to this slide. And we can talk through it in more detail, right? So as you think about these things, as I talk about these things, also be thinking about how they work together. It's really a triplet. All right. After dozens and dozens of hours discussion, all actually friendly. A lot of people had their own perspectives, some stronger than the others, but this is what we ended up with. Lake Kiowa thrives as a welcoming and enduring community, protecting the lake, preserving natural beauty, sustaining a culture where people feel secure, connected, and proud to live here. We will preserve the lifestyle and honor the traditions that brought people here. All right. So the next slide is the mission. So this is vision is kind of aspirational, forward-looking. Mission is really more purpose, why we're here, what we're doing. So Lake Kiowa Properties Owners Association will responsibly manage Lake Kiowa's common property and community services for the benefit of all members. Through strong stewardship, disciplined, thoughtful governments, we maintain all assets and overall appearance, plan for long-term needs, safeguard the community security and well-being, and lead with transparency and mutual respect. And the last of the triplet is the core values. We have 7 of them here. These are all equal. They could be in any order. Get that question a lot. First, safety and security. We foster a peaceful community where residents feel safe and supported. Stewardship of our assets and national environment. We care for the lake, land, shared resources with responsibility, a long-term focus, and an ability to adapt to change. Respect and neighborliness. We treat one another with courtesy, kindness, and mutual respect, maintaining a welcoming community. integrity, transparency, fairness. We lead with honesty and openness, make fair decisions, and communicate clearly. Physical responsibility and sustainability. We manage dues and community assets prudently, balancing today's needs with long-term stability and focusing on improved effectiveness. Community spirit, quality of life. We maintain and improve the culture, appearance, and experiences that make Lake Kiowa a great place to live. And lastly, shared responsibility and engagement. We strengthen our self-managed community through participation, volunteerism, and collaboration. So Scott, if we can go back to the vision statement, 2 slides back. One more. So vision statement, sorry. All right. So I know I just spent a lot of time reading slides to you, and that probably wasn't the most exciting part of your night, but not like overtime of USA Canada, that's for sure. But yeah, only a hockey player could do that, right? Two teeth and then smile. So in any case, what I'm here for is one, to make sure you guys have been able to see this, review it. I sent it out to you a few days before the package came out, so hopefully you had a chance to go through this. My hope, my desire, the desire of the ad hoc committee is that you guys are comfortable with where we are, and by the end of the discussion, we can have a motion to approve these 3 elements. So let's start with vision. Any comments from the board around this, questions, different ideas?
Yeah, Dan, I like it. It's pretty concise and simple, but it's explicit. It explains the things. The 3 top things I saw: protecting, preserving, sustaining. It just lists those 3 key elements.
And, I know the summary of the survey was 20 something pages long, so it's a Dan Bessie version of a summary. But if you look at, what came through, those things were very, very high on everyone's list, along with kind of safety and feeling secure. Right. Yeah, as I said, it was a lot of people putting in a lot of hours. All right. Moving to mission. Any comments, questions, suggestions? All right. And then let's roll to values. Back one. Perfect. Take a second, read through that. Any other thoughts to the value statement 19? Thank you. All right. So if there are no comments, questions, thoughts, I am going to make a couple of motions here.
I have a question for you before
Sure.
you do. So is your intent then for the board tonight to approve these? Is that
Yes.
correct?
Yes.
So we've had it out there for member input.
Multiple ways. Yes.
Okay. Have we gotten any member input?
Lots.
Okay. Have they seen the final?
We have not published the final
Yes.
back. Well, that's not true. I sent the final back out to the people that were in the working group sessions, which is 20-ish people that were in those kind of roll up the sleeve sessions. Gave them a chance to look at it, and also a couple people that wanted to be at the working group sessions, but schedules didn't, allow them to be there. So I sent it out to them, and they provided their thoughts afterwards as well. But no one said, I really can't live with this, or anything along those lines. But I mean, obviously there's different words that people like more than other words, but there was no concept level, I can't live with this, or I can't
Sure.
support this.
So just from a process perspective, as a board, should we look at it like we would do a rule so that we approve it with going out to the membership for a 30-day feedback? I know that's not what you want to do, but and then get their feedback back? or should we just go ahead and approve it? So that's a question for you as a board as to what the process should be. And then the other question I would have is, do we have feedback from our staff in regard to how they will make this happen? Because they have a huge part of making this happen. That was like an elephant in the room, and you're real familiar with that because you've been to Africa recently.
Yeah,
So,
I've seen lots of elephants.
Well, again, what we're trying to figure out is the community vetted enough to don't understand everything and not just have something appear that where'd this come from, even though it's been communicated several times,
I mean, I'll give my piece. So we started this process last May.
you just got further away from me. Did you
Yeah,
notice that?
exactly. Safety. I'm directly behind Bria just in case. But no, seriously, we started the process in May. We started engaging members in July. I did focus group with some stakeholders like realtors to get a little different perspective. We did not do a focus group or working session with the POA staff with this. So to answer your question, I'm not sure if Allred shared it with the team. And then we did the survey, 2,900 open responses that we went through, which actually there was fairly significant commonality. There was not a lot of disparity there. And if you look at the value screen that's up, that's really kind of the order of strength from the survey, and then focus groups, working groups, and the committee. So there's been lots and lots of hours. I don't know whether it's a good idea. It's always a good idea to give members an opportunity to weigh in. My concern is someone says, well, we shouldn't foster a situation where people feel safe and supported, right? Because, that is potential liability, right? Do we don't have enough security people to deal with that? Just making that up, sort of. And, so what do you do with that feedback? One person says, I don't like it, after you're going through lots and lots of, discussions and analysis to get here. So that's why I hesitate. So, I don't know. I don't know. Because, there's definitely words up there that some people don't like, or, because they have a personal preference for, is neighborliness better than welcoming versus whatever, mutual respect versus respect.
I get
So-
that.
so-
Just asking those questions
I-
just to
I'm-
make sure.
I'm
Because I know you put a lot of work into it. I know we've heard a lot. I know I've heard a lot. I know Rich has and other board members have. So just asking, just
no,
want to
I'm,
make
I'm
sure.
open to whatever everyone thinks is best. I'm just trying to
Question.
play it forward.
No,
I don't think that you're ever going to get 100% buy-in from the community for a start. I think
That's true.
everyone is in agreement with that, but under the, I guess, umbrella of transparency, which we seem to consistently get beat over the head with, I think that it would be a good idea maybe to publish this and just make it available for 30 days, and then with the agreement that we'll take a final vote on it, or there will be a final vote on it at the next meeting.
what we
Well,
can.
more discussion, I
It-
think, or
And he's trying to discuss it before a motion on the table, right? Yeah. And so we can certainly approve it as a board, not a doubt. And we can approve it and put it out there and let members know if they have any feedback, they can provide feedback to Dan Bessie. I know, I can tell. Make sure I get your name, Dan Bessie, DAN. No,
What's his personal cell for the record?
exactly. His cell phone.
106 Wampum
Yeah.
Cove.
Yeah.
Come over anytime.
So we can certainly approve it and put it out there. And if anybody has any feedback, we can do it like we do the rules, but go ahead and approve it. And so if there's any feedback, we'll take it back and consider it. And if we need to make any changes and stuff like that.
Yeah, at the end of the day, we don't have to accept what the I mean, you typically do take it into consideration, but 3 of the people on this board actually won't get to vote on it because they'll be off.
Yeah.
The next 3 would
Correct.
vote
Correct.
it in.
Correct.
But in theory, anyone that wanted to participate in this, I believe, has participated because they've had the opportunity for a year. But I think just again to follow a process it kind of makes sense in my head as well. So
I mean, we can certainly approve it tonight, and then it goes out there. If anybody has any feedback, that they can provide that feedback. And I would say also to our staff too, is our staff needs to give us feedback, because if there's anything that they feel like that, we're missing the mark on, because they're delivering a huge piece of this. And
So-
so
And to that point, one of the questions that came up a lot is this a board and POA staff thing? And the answer is no, it's everyone. It's the whole community. I mean, yes, the board has a piece of it. Yes, the POA and the staff has a big piece of it, but this is for all of us to live and breathe, and hopefully set direction going forward and consistency. So yeah, so I'm totally fine with that. But I just want to make sure this isn't how the board operates, or this isn't how, the public works group operates. This is how we're saying this. This is us as a 1,470-ish member community and 80 people on staff.
well, if I'm not mistaken, the majority of people that gave you all the feedback were not on this board. So
Well, that's
anyway.
true. Absolutely.
Is that right?
Yep.
Somebody had a question over there. I'll let you have a question. Just give me your name and your lot number.
One of the things that did come up and I wanted to make sure was talked about is that the mission, we made sure to spell out Lake Kiowa Properties Owner Association, because the entire membership needs to understand that it is not the board, the staff, the lodge personnel that have to uphold these missions and values. It's us as owners. It's us as the community. It's us that have to be willing to stand up for each other. Yes, we do vote for who's put on the board. Yes, we do help, to do this stuff. But the fact is, it's not you guys that are completely and solely responsible. These values are based upon the survey that is based upon our community. So whatever you decide on letting the community, get to review it or whatever for 30 days or whatever you do, there's still an underlining impression that they're expecting that this is only about you guys. And it's not. This is about all of us. And sometimes this is about us standing up to our neighbor and saying, knock it off, or you're not, upholding some of the values that we've talked about in this community.
Right.
So I just wanted to point that out.
Thanks, Amy. I appreciate it. And I know that Dan will write a great article to put it in the Constant Contact to go with this. So I have no doubt that you're exactly what you said. So
All right. So
your point, your point. Have another question over there? Okay.
I wanted to ask Dan about the mission and vision statement. I think you guys might have it flipped. So I just had to do this I work for a national nonprofit, and we just rebranded completely and redid our mission and vision. And the mission is usually more current. It's present. It's what you're going to do. And the vision is more future, what you want to look like and what, how you're going to get there, basically.
yeah. So I appreciate that. And that's exactly how we intended.
Okay.
This.
I thought I heard you say something different.
No. If I did, I misspoke. So no, the vision is really the future orientation. It's a little bit interesting here that a lot of what people said about how I want Kiowa to be 5, 10 plus years from now is a lot like today, and not necessarily in a bad way, but really like they really appreciate the culture, the community, the friendship, the feeling of safety and security. So with everything going on, how do we keep those as kind of the, the guideposts for us? So yeah, so that the vision is absolutely future, mission is absolutely what our purpose is,
Thank
why we're
you
here.
to all of you for doing this. I know how difficult it is.
Right. So to move this forward, I guess where we're going, I am completely fine putting this out, as like in the rules process. So if we're comfortable saying we like it tonight or whatever the right words are, we can publish it for feedback. I'll be happy to put my email address in there and probably not my cell phone. And we'll go from there.
You already gave us your cell phone. Um,
Did I?
so
I'm just kidding.
My
did I
house
hear,
address.
did I hear a motion that we would approve the mission, vision, and values statements as presented this evening? Yep, yep, yep. Okay, all right. Chris and Ronnie, we've taken it out of your ballpark now, right? That's all right. Chris and Ronnie. Yes, yes. And so the motion on the table is to approve this mission and vision and value statement as presented this evening. We will also send them out to the community for any feedback, but we are approving them at this time. Is that correct? All right. All those in favor, raise your hand. Okay. 9-0. Kendall? All right.
So just two pieces as follow on. So assuming that we're able to finally approve them next month after member feedback.
Dan, we just approved them.
No, I understand. I'm talking about future. So after we approve them like the rules, right?
No, we just approved them. We just approved them, but we did let members, we are going to let members have additional feedback. So if we need to change anything in the future, we can do so, but they have now been approved.
Okay. So I misspoke. So when we get member feedback, assuming we can incorporate any changes as the board needs or we don't, my thought is that we would do a town hall in the April time period to go through this, talk about it, make sure we start syndicating this out. Obviously, we'll do a communique article, and also thinking about how do we publish this or post this in the appropriate places, lodge, POA office, and any other place that people think is appropriate. So I'll remind people of that after next meeting.
I would say in the article that you write for the communique for April, then that includes the town hall. Okay. All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dan. We like to give him a hard time. All right. Next on the agenda is the golf committee. Ronnie?
Thank you, Nancy. We discovered some time ago that there seemed to be an inconsistency with the golf committee charter and our rules and regulations. So several meetings ago, I was charged with the responsibility of reading the covenants and restrictions, the bylaws, and the rules and regulations. I did so. The only thing about committees in the covenants and restrictions was that the Architectural Control Committee would be appointed by the board. All other committees the members are appointed by the president with a few restrictions such as the golf lodge, several others that require a board member to be a member. Those are our standing committees. And the procedure outlined in our bylaws is that the president appoints them based on the president's information they know or the recommendations of the community or the recommendations of the committees or the committee's chairman. And then those are approved by the board. When I reviewed all of our operating documents, I discovered that the requirement is in several places that the committees are appointed by the president and approved by the board. There's also a provision that the board of directors cannot delegate that authority. When we reviewed the charter of the golf committee, we found that in 2017, they had proposed their initial charter. The bylaws say that the committees can, if they wish, have a charter or rules for operation and how they conduct their committees. But it cannot contravene or conflict with the bylaws and other rules and regulations. So we felt there was an inconsistency there because the charter actually named the committee members and designated them as the president of the MGA and WGA, president of the Couples Golf Association, the Handicap Committee, one member at large from the MGA and the WGA, and then recently added one member up from the Par 3 Committee. There was also a Greens Committee that the board dissolved after it was no longer had served its purpose. So those would be the members. In addition, the member of the board is the chairman of that committee, who happens to be me. And so we believe that this needed to be corrected so that it was in compliance. So on February the 10th of this year, the golf committee met and discussed this at great length. The golf committee members thought that the organizations that were involved most with the golf operations and the use of the course and the regulation of that use knew better what the situation was, and that they asked that this procedure continue. To put it into compliance with the rest of the rules, we changed the automatic appointment of those persons as the committee members to add language that it is requested that the president of the Lake Kiowa POA Board of Directors include the appointment of the following as golf committee members. And that's the change. And then that will relegate the appointment of those subject to or in opposition to the recommendation of the golf committee to the president. And then after the president makes the designation or fails to make the designation, then that would be approved by the board.
So no action at this time? Or yes?
Need to approve the charter.
Okay.
Or disapprove the charter
Okay.
or make changes to
Okay.
it. I know Dan has one change. He would like the word amended to be removed because it's not really an amendment because when was it, Dan, in 2023?
Right. So when this was approved initially by the board in 2017, it really didn't follow the bylaws, because the bylaws say the board president needs to do it. And then in 2023, bylaw 1010 came in, which made the golf committee a bylaw committee. And again, it says the board president needs to do this. So in my opinion, this didn't exist. Some other people disagree, but to me, that doesn't really matter for tonight. It's just say it's a new charter and we can approve it or not approve it or change it. But I would say that it's just a new charter, not an amended one just the semantic, but important to me to say that we're following our governing documents, that a golf committee or any committee document doesn't supersede the bylaws.
Okay. And so, are you making a motion? There's somebody? No?
Yes, I make a motion to approve.
What? Go ahead. You have a question?
No, I was going to motion to.
I heard- I heard Ronnie make a motion to approve the charter. Is that correct?
Yes.
And I heard a second over here with Cecil. Is that correct?
Again, with the change, striking amended.
Striking amended. That's correct. I know I heard other stuff, but I did hear those two, right?
Yes.
Okay. So the motion before you is to approve the golf charter with striking the word amended. And Ronnie made the motion and Cecil seconded it. And so is there any other discussion? Yes, sir.
My thought, and I think this would be helpful, is I totally agree with the fact that the people listed here, spend a lot of time thinking about golf, play golf, know the course, know what's going on. But I also think that they represent one perspective of kind of people that play golf a lot. And, we just recently had that ad hoc committee to look at the golf calendar. And one perspective that doesn't really come across is the people that work full time and can't play 5 times a week, or people that don't live here full time, that can't play, multiple times a week because they're only here on the weekend. So my suggestion would be that the board president, at their discretion, add someone to this list of people that represents, not the hardcore golfing perspective.
Yeah, the community as a whole.
Yeah, I mean, it has at large here, but
Yeah.
it's an MGA and WGA player, which fine. I mean, I'm part of the MGA, but I haven't played golf since July. But I think it's more than that. It should be any at large member at the president's discretion, the board approval, that helps represent, that community of people that don't get to play golf, whether they like to or not, on a regular basis.
Does that charter preclude the president from
No.
appointing somebody?
No.
No,
There's at least 7 members, just as the
least.
bylaws do.
correct. So it doesn't preclude them, so they could add those people.
Who's they?
The people that you're talking about, those that are out
Board
there,
president?
Board president.
the board president.
Okay, but I would love it to have it in writing.
You want to say that in writing? It says at least, I mean, it says
I
that on all the
understand, but-
committees.
I understand, but my perspective is it would be very easy to lose focus on the,
Hobby golfer.
hobby golfer is a great way to say it. When, I had many discussions with Jim Adams on this, multiple emails with Jim, and, the majority of people at Kiowa don't play golf, aren't part of the MGA, WGA, and aren't able to play golf on a very regular basis. So, and we do get feedback that it's not always easy to get a tee time if you're only here on Saturday and Sunday. So especially, when they're doing tournaments. So my perspective is we need to have something that carves out, this is a person that represents
The hobby
the
golfer.
hobby golfer, the weekender, part-timer, or someone that can't play.
Would you like to amend the motion
Yes, I would love to amend the motion to
to add?
add a person to this, a standing member of this committee appointed by the board president that represents
Not standing. Don't say standing. You
regular member.
You want to add that the golf committee recommends a hobby golfer.
No. I don't.
The board president decides regardless.
Understood. I would like the board president to pick and not the golf committee.
Fair. Okay.
That's because again, these guys are great, women, men, but they come at it from a particular perspective. And that's great. We need that. We need that knowledge, expertise, institutional history. But I also think that, again, based on the golf calendar discussion, that we also need a slightly different perspective represented and not just have, someone's next door neighbor.
So what's your amendment?
Like I said, have the board president appoint a person to this committee, a normal, whatever the right word is, person to this committee that is not recommended by the golf committee, but represents the hobby golfer, to make sure that these people that can't play on a regular basis, their perspective is represented.
I agree exactly what he's saying. I just don't know how to write it.
I'm trying to think how you want to say.
Yes, I believe if we're going to amend the golf committee charter, it needs to go back to the golf committee to approve that.
That would be my thought. It needs to go back to them, but yep, you have a motion right now on the floor. So are you withdrawing your motion?
Yes.
Okay. All right.
Oh.
Cecil, you second it. Is that all right with you? All right. Is that okay with the board?
Well,
Go
I'd
ahead.
make one comment since it may the
Sure.
comment period may be closed if the motion
Sure.
is withdrawn, but just a question. I don't have really any objection to what's been said, but just this is a question for Ronnie, and I should have looked this up beforehand, but do the bylaws specify the number of members in the committee, or is it just
It
based on?
does. It's at least 7.
At least 7.
That's in the bylaw.
Yes.
Okay, so I just wanted to make sure that there wasn't a floor set by the charter and that it is in
Mm-hmm.
fact set by the bylaw.
Most of your standing committees say at least 7 members. Not all of them, but most of them
Right.
do.
In fact, this board approved one additional member just a couple of months ago, Bruce Ives, and so he's also on the golf committee,
Mhm.
and he's not in this category.
Okay. All right. So Ronnie, will you take that back to the golf committee and let them know that we want a weekend hobby golfer, non-MGA and stuff like that. So
Yes, I will.
That's appointed by the,
I, it could. Just a second.
so,
No, actually, go ahead. Uh-huh. I know. It's your favorite thing. It's your last time. You're good. No, you have anything to mean.
In my opinion, I just think that lends itself to kind of picking on a committee and then having other committees feel like then we're going to be kind of telling them what to do too. I don't really think that's a good idea in my opinion.
The other committees don't specifically say have recommendations like
right.
this one does.
And that's my point, is that you don't even have names, you have positions. So, that's different than any committee. And the board president picks all the ad hoc committee members, picks all the members of any bylaw committee like the golf committee. So it's, in my opinion, it's no different. Could they recommend someone? Of course, but I'm saying I want to make sure there's one level of independence to that. And that's the genesis of my conversation. So if, Jim Adams as the president of MGA wants to say Patrick Duffy is the weekend golfer representative and Nancy's good with it and we're good with it, great. But to me, I would love to make sure that we have something that's not just pre-generated by the golf committee. I know that will irritate a lot of people, but that's not my intention. My intention is to have a different perspective represented.
Totally understand. I totally understand. So again, this is a board meeting and it's at the president's pleasure whether or not she allows the audience to speak. But since we've done that already, Dina Fag had your hand. Your no? Okay. All right. Okay. Yes, sir. You have your hand. Okay. If you can't, then I better hear your name and your lot number for me. So
Quite certain where the intent.
Can you use your microphone? Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I don't know where the intent's going. Picking a hobby golfer. Are we going to interview them? Do we know what their position is? What if they don't care? What are we trying to get accomplished? Because I don't think one person would be representative of the real truth of a hobby golfer.
So my perspective is we need to have more open discussion within the golf committee and have multiple perspectives represented in the golf committee. So they're one of 7 or one of 8 people. So, they're 12 to 17% of the committee. So, the board president gets to pick whoever they believe is the best representative of that group. So whatever process the board president decides is the right one is the right answer. So to me, I've heard people say the golf committee is different and that we get to pick our own people and we run autonomously. And that, is very different than any of the other committees and very different than how the bylaws read. So really what I'm trying to do is to make sure that of the 3,000, 3,500 people at Kiowa, that there's a chance that the people that aren't able to play, on a very regular basis, their voice and their perspective is represented.
Okay. All right. We've now withdrawn. I should have just gone on. Right. So just a second. Yes, sir.
One thing too, back to all of this, we're looking for something that's value added, so it's a matter of if it's one more member, is it a value added member to that committee that participates and their voice is heard? We just got to make sure that that's a part of it.
I agree 1,000%.
That was the point of the ad hoc committee that we had for the golf calendar, because too many non-MGA members have voiced enough concern to people on this board that they cannot get a tee time and they don't want to play in an MGA event. So I think there's a lot of people that would fit what I'm calling a hobby golfer. Maybe a bad term, but I think we all get the point right.
Gerald Smith, you had your hand up.
Yes, I did. Gerald Smith, lot 1419. I think you're asking for a miracle, 1980 miracle to happen if you think that you're going to be able to target one person, kind of a partial golfer, to sit in a room with 8 other golfers and trying to convince them of something that we're not really sure of. And it would be better, in my mind, if you could say to the golf committee, we're going to cut back the number of events, number of tournaments, and give those that don't play MGA or WGA or couples an opportunity to play at the designated times that they're indicating that that's not available, rather than try to think this one person is going to make a big difference in a room with 8 golfers. And Ronnie, I think you're chairing the golf committee. You'd be a good example to say, how likely would you see that happening? And who in Kiowa would you know of that would be in a position to carry that kind of influence, to carry that kind
So
of
Gerald, would you be
visibility?
open to having 3 or 4 hobby so that it's more balanced?
It's not up to me. It's up to
No,
the
I'm
golf
asking your
committee.
opinion. You're the one that said 1 is not appropriate. So is 3 or 4 more appropriate?
It seems to me that what we're trying to get at is unintended consequences that would play against the golfers. And I don't think that's your intent, is to penalize those that play in tournaments and play in events.
In no way, shape, or form is that my intent. My intent is to represent all members, and that's what I'm trying to do. We had an ad hoc committee that at the initial meeting came up with, I forget, 5, 6, 7 changes to the golf calendar. After the review from the golf community, almost all of them got added back. And then since that committee ended, 2 more got added back. So, we really ended up with a golf calendar exactly where it was based on feedback from people that play golf on a regular basis. So at the end of the day, am I asking for a miracle? No, I'm asking for if you add up all the MGA players, the members, all the WGA players, couples, group players or members, plus, now the 300 or 400 people that play golf on a regular basis, that's still a good minority of the community. I don't know of the 3,500 people that live here, how many play golf, but if you add all that up, it's 1,000, 1,200 people, 1,250 people. So then it's 2,000 other people plus that aren't represented.
Yeah, I just have a tough time believing that you can find the right person who can be influential.
Stop, Dan.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I just, it's the board's call, what you think is right. I just think it's maybe trying to approach the problem in the wrong way, because we have enough trouble getting people here to serve on committees and then ask them to serve on one, to take the view of look out for the golfers that don't play in tournaments and don't play in events, and how can we influence them being able to play more at different times on weekends or whatever.
Okay. Thank you, Gerald. I appreciate it. I have one more person. Jim Fox. Yep. That's it after this.
Jim Fox, 1452. Just kind of facetiously, if you appoint somebody like that, is the golf committee going to meet on the weekends? Because some of the people that you're trying to accomplish may not be here during the week. And we all know committee attendance sometimes is kind of hard. So just a point about attendance too at the meetings, if you're going to try to get that perspective.
We won't solve it tonight. We know that. And I appreciate everybody's points of view. because that's what we're trying to take care of, is everybody's points of view the best that we can. Are we going to please everybody? No, we won't. But at least we can try any way we can to give people the opportunity to share what they want to say, which even goes back to, like we just talked about, the mission and vision, right? So if you'll just take that back, Ronnie, and just let them know that, we have no problem approving it. We just like them to consider that amendment and what that term might be. And so at least we have that in there. Okay. All right. So I hear no other discussion on that. Is that correct? Okay. All right. Moving forward, I'm going to move the Little Wolf Trail around and do the front entrance first. Is that correct? That's how you guys wanted to move that around?
Yes, and I'll address pickleball as well.
Okay. All right. That'd be great. Rich?
I'll just do pickleball first really quick. Had some discussions. We had the select fill finally approved. It passed all the tests. Had a civil engineer through Sports King come out and do a couple final grading plans. We reviewed a few options, approved that. So everything's moving forward, and we are scheduled to start. I have a construction and start moving forward. Wednesday is what's scheduled. So again, Wednesday, hopefully they'll be out there. We'll actually see some dirt moving. And that's where we are right now with that. And we'll get an updated timeline once they start and get confirmation moving forward. Correct.
Yes, that's correct. Day after tomorrow, 2/25. That's what they've said. So once they move dirt, at that point in time, when they give us the updated timeline, that'll be based off of how much dirt they move that day. Is that correct?
Correct.
That's what I thought. Okay. All right.
Next up is front gate project.
Wait just a second.
Oh.
Ronnie?
Rich, we've paid them 170,000, and you estimate that probably they'll get half of the concrete in on the foundation for that point.
Yep. My rough estimate's probably to get through the end of the slab, will probably be cost of estimate around 250. So I assume somewhere in the midst of pouring the concrete that they'll come for another draw for some additional funds.
Before they start construction, could you get a list from the contractor of how much of that 170 they still have left that they have not spent, and invoices showing what they've spent the money on?
I'll move forward with that.
We do have invoices of what they have spent in a bunch of different estimates and what they're going to, but to your point, we don't have a list of like an accounting, I don't think.
Not a full accounting, same thing. They had updated estimates. They did have some expenditures, but not to that sum.
And Rich, the money's coming from CDRF mostly. Is that the plan?
Actually, mostly it'll be coming from CARF. The initial sum is from CDRF, but if you go by total sum, more is coming out of CARF than CDRF.
So we have $280,000 in CDRF right now.
It should be 250, I think, and 86 just went in there, which wasn't. So I think it was 100 from pickleball, and basically even split. Maybe it is a little bit more from CDRF, but barely. It's about an even split of 300,000.
Yeah. So why, we can talk about this offline, but
Yeah.
I'd rather spend CDRF money because then that gives, because that's designated for, new
Right.
construction, if you will. That's not the exact words, but whereas CARF is a little bit more open.
And we could reassign, board could approve to take the other 86,000 from CRF and apply that instead of the CARF. We also could move Little Wolf Park funds and take some of that and move it to CDRF as well, if we move forward with that, because that was approved out of CARF. And that's a new project. We could do multiple moves per se.
So can the treasurer and the Ways and Means Committee look at
Yeah,
that
that's a good idea.
as to what is best to move for the financial stability of the POA for this year? Please. Thank you.
Because yeah, ideally it would be to eliminate CDR first in total. Any further questions? All right, everybody can hear me now? And I'll just try to talk louder. Front game project. Last time we brought this to you, we got some bids. They were almost $600,000. So we went back and tried to do kind of a value engineering. And just to go through some of this, I'll do quick history again, what the current plans are, what we thought the timeline would be, review the bids, and then we actually have some potential options. Again, the ballot we had in 2024, over 2 years ago, we have the HUT $400,000 cap. We had initial estimates of little over $400,000. Well, this isn't working either. Next slide. And we had our concept to where we had the hut and the guardhouse. This evolved over time. Next slide. So we had the $400,000 estimate. The vote went for the $480,000 and was approved. Next slide. So again, we ran into some other cost issues, which we knew were going to push it out of the $480,000. So we did a couple of pivots and a redesign to where we are now, to where we moved the hut from between the lanes to forward. Next slide. So overall, you can see this plan. A lot of it was to get the circulation moving. We added some gates. We actually looked forward to a possibility of not having 24-hour 7 security at the guardhouse, so additional gates to stop access. Next slide. And then we went into some value engineering. We kind of eliminated some of the additional parking we had, some of the additional concrete we had in the 2 lanes. You know, we're only having the guard hut for the kind of guest lane, so the member lane really wouldn't need it because of the starting stopping of heavy vehicles. Next slide. And then this is the current guardhouse plan. After we went through and did some engineering, we squared off some of the corners, try to cut some costs. And again, the recommendation from the contractor that we had was basically demo the guardhouse. So we basically just tried to simplify the design. This would be all brand new construction. Next slide. This is kind of just a dollhouse view. Next slide. We had the design to try to follow again. So our theme, you have some stone, board and batten. This is squared off, so you don't have as much change in the roof line. So we have a couple faux gables in there. Next slide. This is kind of just a concept again, so you can kind of see the materials and kind of what it would look like. Next slide. This was the guard hut, which is unchanged. This basically has the ADA bathroom and the safe room with the CMU wall construction. Next slide. Next slide. This was kind of the design too. It's got a shed roof, but keeps the same theme with stone, but board and batten siding. And again, this is unchanged from the previous version. Next slide. Again, you can kind of see the material concept. Next slide. Sorry for going fast, but we've gone through this a few times. This was, again, the material concept. You can see how they all blend in together and what the pavilion was. So you can see their overall thought process. Next slide. And again, if you have any questions, stop me. I'm just, because we've gone through this a few times, I'm trying to just get through it. So this is the current site plan with the guard house and the guard hut, all the additional gates. Next slide. You know, what we're looking forward to do is possibly approving it now. They have about a 4 to 6 month timeline to get it constructed. And then of course, we're trying to schedule around the 4th of July. Even if with that, we're probably looking at August 26th best if we were to move forward right now, would be kind of the potential timeline. Next slide. This would be a concept of how, while the guardhouse is down, kind of how we would alleviate traffic. This cost has not been completely evaluated yet. We would need some type of temporary construction building, guardhouse to kind of man this traffic. So we do have to get a final cost on that, and it would be a POA expense. Next slide. So what the final breakdown came into was basically $536,000, which is well over the $480,000 limit we had. So, you know, only options we have basically is possibly go back to a membership vote to ask for more money, do additional value engineering. What concepts would we do? Jim provided some alternate plans, basically one thing we're looking at is eliminating the guard hut and doing just a guardhouse. Next slide. So exactly, we're over budget. Some of this is the alternatives is, we have to change some of the things in the current guardhouse plan. So this probably will have to go back to get redesigned because we can't just go forward with the guardhouse design as we have now. We'll need to take some of that square footage that's in the guard hut, namely the ADA bathroom, the safe room that we have in there. The plans will have to get revised to kind of include that. So we have to shift some of the costs that are in the guard hut into the guard house. So that will increase. Next slide. So next slide. So this is how it sits right now. And some of the things we're trying to solve was the turn radius. If we're going to enlarge the guardhouse, we'll most likely have to put in a new septic because it'll pull forward. Next slide. Our existing guardhouse, it's hard to tell, but in that little island with the flag, there's the septic right there. So if we were to increase the footprint at all, we'll definitely have to get a new septic system. So that'll be additional cost. Next slide. So here, if you can kind of see the color differential, again, we're crossing out, getting rid of the guard hut, all that extra concrete will save costs there. But we will increase the size of the existing guardhouse, pull it forward so we can get the turn radius we need that we've always been looking for. Next slide. And again, you can kind of see the turn radius study. If we can pull it forward, we can increase the turn radius, greatly. Next slide. Next slide. So again, there's the footprint, kind of where you see the turn. Next slide. And it's 504 square feet. So you're going from 504 square foot guardhouse to a 756 square foot guardhouse. You're still increasing 252 square feet, almost the size of the guard hut. Next slide. So this kind of gives you the footprint again, pulled forward. You can see the turn radius. Next slide. This is kind of a concept of what the guardhouse would look like. Again, we have a much larger restroom, ADA restroom with CMU walls, to get the break room that we were looking for, to have the same traffic management system that we have now. We have to add another seat, and then the chief's office. Next slide. Again, just another view of that plan with some dimensions. Next slide. Concept drawings of what it looked like, same thing, same material theme, but obviously is greatly enlarged. Again, these are just concept drawings, but something we would have to move forward to Bluestone again to revise the drawings to what extent, and they may have more expertise in getting a more efficient design than we propose right here. So there may be some more cost cutting, or depending on what other changes we make and suggestions we get. Next slide. Just here's a view of what the guardhouse would look like in this alternate plan. Again, same theme, kind of a better exterior massing. Next slide. There's a dollhouse view again, kind of see the spatial. You can see the guard, the chief's office, the transportation access room, the kitchen area. Next slide. Kind of threw some numbers together. Overall cost savings we came up with is about 110,000, gets it down to 430, which is more manageable. And again, these are just Jim and I's kind of ballparks, trying to go off of what their square footage costs were, and how we increased the guardhouse. Again, those were just things we were showing to see kind of what the alternate would look at and what we would be pulling it forward, enlarging it, getting the ADA bathroom, having to put in a new septic, all those kind of costs. So we kind of put that together as kind of, what are the next steps? If we move this way, we'll have to go back to Bluestone and see how much they would charge to do the drawings, and it'll have to go back to bid it again. And that's where we are at this point. Just that's our ask, I guess, unless Jim has anything else. I know I kind of went through that fast a little bit. I tend to do that. Again, any questions, go back to any other slides.
Who's all on the front office or front entrance committee?
Gerald, Norma Deslitz, Randy Howell is on it, but he hasn't been on it in a little while. Melanie's on it.
Bert.
Bert's on it, and the other gentleman from security, the ex-police officer. I can't remember his name.
This is front entrance committee says they like alternate guardhouse idea, or
We have not taken it to them yet. It's kind of like, do we even want to approach this? It's kind of like a board. Do we want to go down that, you know, what are the alternates, or how would you want us to approach this going forward?
Yeah, personally, I don't like the guard hut idea, so I wasn't necessarily a fan the whole time. So that's Dylan's opinion, not of this board.
I'd second that. Talked to Melanie quite a bit about that.
Correct. And Melanie does not.
It's ridiculous. Maybe not ridiculous, but
we-
I like the alternative plan. And I think she would too. So
It just seems like we're being counterintuitive. That's why I asked. We have like a trap area in case we don't want to man it. Now we're going to have two potential houses that we potentially may not man either in the future. So it just kind of, we're like belt and suspenders on some of it here. So. Any other comments?
It's just kind of a bad spot. I mean, that's the other, I mean, I said to the other one, you can go back and have another vote. We can have a vote anytime and ask for, additional funds. But I think just for what this project is, some of the comments we've had throughout, I think, we better off doing cost cutting and going on an alternate path.
So I asked Rich and Jim to go back and say, can we go back and look at what we did, why we did, just because we started it that way 5 years ago, things have changed in the past 5 years. And so can we look at it differently so we can try to be respectful to what we asked the committee in the community for? And so that's one of the reasons you have an alternative here. And, there's other ways to use money. If we can save a portion of that, then there's other ways to use money to do other things too. So. Cecil, you had a question, comment?
No, other than just stepping in recently, I've seen the iterations over the years, and at some point, what makes the most sense and the most value for the again the money spent. And here we are, several years down the road, and costs aren't going to get any cheaper, and we're not going to get a guardhouse of any type if we don't move forward with something.
So we know that if we go to Bluestone and ask for design plans and things like that, if we ask for a cost estimate, that we have at least a 30-day window if they give us a cost estimate. Would that be correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Too many opinions. What should I have 30 sets of drawings?
So what does the board feel at this point in time? Do we have him go back and he and Jim go back and ask for design and cost estimates to redo this?
I agree. Well, we can't proceed as is because it's 580 grand and we didn't get approved.
Correct. That's correct. Well, we can spend part of it. So you can't spend all of it. So you'd have to decide what you want to spend on.
I agree to the alternate plan. Examine it and see what we can do.
Yep. Jim?
I was gone this last week, but while we were here, or actually today, Rich got some stuff in there. We received the actual plans, the revisions from the value engineering. I guess it was maybe it's just a dream, but I was kind of hoping that we could, within value engineering, because that's what they've done right now with squaring off the walls, is combine the two. They have all of the details. The concept that you saw up there is just a combination of the two and putting them together. There's not like you got a whole different kitchen or something. It's all the same. It's just a matter of combining them into one. So my hope would be that we could do this for a minimal cost and even try to impress upon them that we've waited a long time for this. It's been frankly, it's been disappointing how long it's taken to do this, and it's costing us money because it's taking so long. So I hope we could try to get them, Bluestone, to be able to help combine these two drawings fairly simply without a whole lot of cost. The timing is, of course, another issue. Getting that done within a timely manner and but we do know have a bidder, which, we probably have to rebid, but at least we have one that we believe we could work with if they would bid again. So.
Yeah, it wouldn't be from scratch. We would save time, but it'd definitely be some work. How much that is, we'll wait to see. But I'd also like to keep the contractor kind of on the hook right now and keep moving forward. Same thing.
So just to make sure I understand. So Rich, Jim, what exactly are you looking for us to approve tonight?
Looking to approve for us basically to kind of move forward with this alternate plan, go back to Bluestone and kind of get a feasibility of what it'll take and what they come back with, basically. But right now, take this alternate to Bluestone and kind of see how we can push this forward.
Would you take it to Bluestone and the contractor?
Yeah.
Well, Bluestone first, but in lieu with the contractor, yes.
Do you think you could have a bid back in 30 days with the new design and a bid in 30 days for the next meeting? Probably not.
Possibly, probably a little unlikely, but possibly.
Tell them that that's what we want if we want to move forward. It's our attorney sitting over there going, yeah, be careful what you ask for. I know. All right. So is there a motion for us to send this back for them to? Just asking, because you're changing a little bit about what the concept was to begin with. So I would feel better if you did.
I'd like to make a motion to doesn't matter. I'd like to make a
one
motion.
comment. I forgot to slip over something when, like I said, we threw those numbers together a little bit. Ideally, again, we changed the concept, and it's one thing we've been trying to stay with. If we can get this under the $400,000 per se, not, don't want to say the vote was moot back, but kind of if it gets under $400,000, if it is a change of concept, it's underneath the $400,000 cap.
Okay. All right.
I still move this back to Bluestone to rework with the POA and Jim.
Alternate plan.
Alternate plan, correct.
All right. Chris is seconds. All right. Motion on the floor is to go back to Bluestone and hopefully the contractor and look at what it will take for the alternate guardhouse. Is that correct? All right. All those in favor, raise your hand. All right. 9-0, Kendall. Rich, you have your marching orders on that one.
Thank you.
Thank you. Go forward.
Try to go back first.
I guess we should. We'll go back to Little Wolf Trail then. Okay. Yeah. Little Wolf Trail?
Yeah, trying to get the slides up.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, Little Wolf Park Trail, not trial. This is kind of where we have the stone. It's about where the parking lot is to the driving range. Next slide. And that kind of marks the beginning of the trail. This goes back to the master plan site plan. It kind of shows the yellow line that goes around the perimeter of the Little Wolf Park 52-acre area. It kind of starts at the pond area and goes all the way around the par 3, all the way around the driving range and then down the rears of the homes that are there. We also have a cut through, if you can see it, basically that goes down through the pavilion area, the restroom, and back down to the drive. This is over a mile trail, not including the cut through. You're going to go back one. Just wanted to highlight a couple things. The blue dashed line that you see in the bottom right is actually kind of the drainage area. It's quite a significant ditch. We'll have to get across that via a bridge or some other path, and we had proposed a bridge. And then on the left side, by number 5, if you know where the 5 green is, next to that, the house that's just outside, we'll need a protective fence there. That was part of the bid as well. So we had the trail, the bridge, and the fence is what we were put out the bid to the contractors. Next slide. And again, you can kind of see here, and then by number 5 at the bottom of the, we kind of have like where the protective fence would be. And then you can kind of see a little bit how the trail kind of splits the middle. Next slide. We proposed a DG trail similar to what is at the nature trail up on the North Horseshoe. Again, the perimeter loops over a mile. The cross cuts a little under a quarter mile. Depending on how you do the loops, west loop, east loop, if you were to take the cut through, you're well over a half a mile, 3/4 of a mile. What we propose is the width at 8 foot wide, and the overall depth of the material would be about 4 to 5 inches. Next slide.
Bless you.
And this is kind of an image of the fence we were looking at. Again, it's kind of kicked back to prevent any balls coming over and hitting a person walking on the trail. Next slide. The bids didn't come back as clear as possible. We actually had 9 people interested. Only 3 people came back, and it came back with different alternates and prices. The 8 foot wide DG trail that we proposed, the lowest price was $127,000. They provided an alternate, which call it the D stone. If you've been out to the par 3, it's that white stone that's there now. So it will be the same stone as the D stone as opposed to the decomposed granite. That's a cost savings of about $10,000, would actually keep everything consistent as opposed to having DG. You can look at that one way or the other. We had proposed for what we proposed a metal bridge. The lowest price came in at $34,000. Somebody put in an alternate for a wood bridge. That was at $18,000. And the one bid we got for the protected fence was at $15,000. That put a grand total, even if you took the lowest numbers and with the metal bridge, we're at $166,000. What the board had approved previously was $125,000. So next slide. So again, CAR funds approved is 125. We could change some of that to CDRF funds, or the additional funds could come from CDRF. The 3 bids that were received, none of them were turnkey, all inclusive, and none of them were consistent. So it was a little hard to compare apples to apples. So again, we exceed that. I would be requesting $50,000 in additional funding, because obviously we can't all do this, but one ask right now is we can move forward with the trail as is, and then bid out the bridge and the fence separately to individual contractors, because that seems to be how everybody was looking at it anyways. So we could approve the trail at the $117,000, move forward with that and get a contract started, and then again go out to bridge and fence contractors in the meantime and get those bids, and within basically $175,000 not to exceed for all 3.
Does that include the parking addition there?
No, parking addition is not included.
And what's the estimate on what that would cost?
No, we didn't really look at that. That kind of was an overall concept plan. We had a couple other things in there too that aren't part of it.
Would we not have to have additional parking with this?
At some point, but I don't think you have to. I mean, we still have more
practice.
parking there than what we have to the North Horseshoe Trail right now.
Okay.
I mean, we could always use additional parking. I could use additional parking there as well.
I think we approved 125 for a trail. I think a $30-something thousand metal bridge is excessive. Culvert, maybe low water crossing. I don't know how much water's going through there. I'm not standing there when it's raining, but I don't think people are walking in the rain. But I'm probably out on the metal bridge / fence for the 50 extra grand is just where my head's at. So I would make a motion that we stick with the approved funds of what we approved and then move forward with the DG trail. To stick with the funds we've already approved and then just to move forward. It really doesn't have to be a motion, I guess, because the funds are already approved. So I actually don't have a motion.
Well, you do. I mean, if you want to, you want to go with the DG though. That's what you said, not the D stone. Because there is a difference. There is a price difference there. Okay.
Correct.
That's correct.
Bridge is workable. Like I said, there's a wood bridge there. I mean, we got to look into different alternatives. So the bridge has got a lot of leeway. The fence was kind of what we were looking at, protective fence as part of the part 3. I think that's kind of necessary to a certain extent.
So I like where Dylan's going, but I also like that concept of let's not give up on the other two. So let's say move forward with the trail, but then see if we can get more realistic alternatives for the others. I agree that the fence was thought about for a reason, and if we can get that for less than $15,000, probably is something that we should consider. So my thought is to do it. Yeah, let's move forward the trail with the money that's already approved, and then we'll make the others separate items that the POA could get bids for, and we can come back to us with separate requests. And we can use that again. There's that amount. There's CDRF money there that doesn't necessarily have to come out of CARF.
Did they give us a timeline if we do the DG trail for the first one?
Hold on. Actually, he gave it to me not that long ago.
And
fairly quickly. I mean, I don't even know if we get a contract done in time because I'd have to come back with an approved contract at the next meeting. But probably right after the next meeting, he'd probably be able to start immediately. He gave me like a 30-day start timeline.
Okay. So like in April, he could start maybe?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Cecil?
So Rich, for culverts, we've done plenty of culverts around here. What would an estimate for a culvert to go there where they need to get across that drainage area run?
To be honest, that size culvert will probably run about 15 to 20 grand. If to put concrete around it and settle it in there, that's a huge drainage ditch. That's a huge drainage ditch over there. It takes a lot of water. I have 3 2-foot pipes. I forget what they are. It would have to be like a 4-foot or 5-foot, diameter pipe. It would be significant.
Do you know what the span is across?
The span, I could probably just do it like a 20-foot pipe. Or you mean the length of it?
The bridge.
Get across? We were looking at a 20-foot or 30-foot length of bridge. The culvert pipe, if you put it in, we were looking at, we want something that a mower can go over. So we want some at least 6 foot, probably like 8 feet wide. To get it, you'd want a culvert pipe bigger than that. So you probably just go with a 20-foot to make it easy. And that would be going in the ditch, not the depth of the bridge.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Dylan, I think, yeah. Yeah, the other option would be a low water crossing, but there's a liability with that too. Again, my background, we got rid of those as soon as we could because of liability issues with people crossing. Even in dry weather, the algae forms and stuff on those low water crossings. And yeah, and that'd be a big one, but it could be done cheaper. But I just wanted to chip in too and just say I'm really concerned about the liability we would have if we do not eventually screen something up there between the green and where that trail is. That's a conflicting area up there.
Tell me if I'm accurate in this assumption, Rich, Jim, that putting a fence in up there would be a lot quicker than the work for the trail. So even if we bid that out separately to fence companies, that we could probably catch up pretty quickly. Is that a reasonable assumption?
Just overall timeline, it's not like we'd have to prove that now.
And the last question is, anything we're doing with the trail or anything, would it impact negatively the front gate or pickleball in any way as far as conflicting for resources or timing or anything?
No, shouldn't. One other note too, you said DG. I think the DG was about 127,000. So it does go over the 125 that was approved.
See if you can get them to knock off that 2,000. Yeah. Value engineering. Yep. It does. And drive on 82 between Gainesville and just before Whitesboro, and there is a metal bridge over on the north side of the road for sale. Just saying. Just saying. Yes, exactly. There truly is one. So over there, but I don't know if it's big enough.
I
Evan.
looked up prefab metal bridges just for why I could find one for about 20 grand. So a lot of it's like install and everything else that they're calculating into it.
All right. Any other questions or any other thoughts about Little Wolf Trail? We're good to move forth 125,000 and value engineering the two. Okay. All right. Okay. Then we're on to community manager report.
Seat for this one.
Okay.
All right, I have another ask. First thing up is ARF, and you have a couple you have a invoice estimate in there regarding the message board signs, one at the front gate, one at the east gate. Currently, the software system is down specifically for the front gate. We really can't update it or change it. That software is completely obsolete and not serviceable. Also, they're analog, outdated. They've been due to be replaced for a couple years. We've held off because of the front entrance. I took to the Ways and Means a couple options we discussed, and they recommend the cost estimate you have in front of you. Total for both message board signs is $53,814.79. We did have $45,390 allocated at ARF. Ways and Means recommends the additional $8,424.79 expenditure out of ARF. Any other questions with that portion?
I think I'd just hold tight on anything at the front. You're changing the whole look, and we're going to spend 30 grand or whatever it is for a sign that we don't even know where it's going to be located. I don't think I would do that today.
Well, the sign shouldn't be moving. And if the sign moves itself, that's the structure of it. The display boards can move wherever they are. So even if they're purchased, they're unplugged and we can move them out of the case. They're encased. So we can change them and move them wherever we want to in the future as long as we have power. Right now we have power there. Wherever we put them, we'd have to have power, which could be an additional expense, but we don't have any plans of moving the signs. The second portion of this was Eagle Eye, who's doing the purchase and the install, is donating, and I would need a donation approved at $2,500. They're doing in-kind service, doing a free install. Some of it would take modification to the sign to get the display in. So he's donating $2,500 towards the install.
Did we have anyone else bid?
No, I did not. I look, you can look them up online. I mean, they're $20,000-$30,000 depending on what you get. And some of it you're doing the software. And again, I can't remember. Maybe I have it in here.
So in the chat meeting, the chat meeting that we had last week, one of the questions that came up was, do we need display boards? And because only if you're trapped on the east gate, I believe was the comment, do you have time to read more than one or two things? And because we're getting better and better at the front gate of getting people through, they only have time to see the date and time or KWC, but you don't know what it was. And so at least that was the comments in the chat meeting as to whether or not we needed them. So
they are quite expensive, and everybody, I've heard likewise, and I've heard one person that we had at the chat come back to me later and say, no, we definitely need them.
I also think that, we're using 1970s technology or whatever it is. So those little, it looks like a dot matrix printer kind of, with this new technology in your boards, you would able to display everything, right? So yes, you wouldn't necessarily sit there to watch 5 things rotate through, but you would, you wouldn't have to read, all right, it's 27 degrees, date and time, and then wait. Whatever it is, it'll be up there, the whole thing, not to rotate through, because now we have 3 lines and so many characters.
I don't know how to compare it. I mean, there was a couple examples on there. I don't know if anybody wants to take a look at them, but they're like the marketing signs you see at other places. Some of the billboards you see, they're color, put images on there, everything else. So it's if you want to upgrade to that. I mean, that's basically where the technology is now, and even an analog is quite expensive.
Okay, Cecil.
Well, it's that value added thing. What do we get for spending $50,000? And, sooner or later, you don't want to have the tablet out there that nobody can read and or see. And I'm all for it, but it's just, what is the benefit for the money spent?
I agree. I was at the chat meeting. I thought it was a good question. do we really need it? And I'm not sure we do, but the board can decide whether or not we really need it.
So Rich, is there really an alternative? It's either do something like this or just rip them down, right? There's no middle ground that
Not
makes
really.
sense.
No. I mean, you'd be looking at spending 40 some $1,000s to do anything that be worthwhile regardless. So this is, like I said, a little bit of an upgrade. But a downgrade doesn't save you that much.
Things. How long did it like
You
that?
go through too fast and you can't even.
I would like to
Vote.
have a message on there to vote, because we're at about 50% right now, a little bit of a low turnout. I'd love to have, please vote on there right now if I could.
There's got to be some way to mess with it. There's got to be.
Yeah, and that's that. But yeah, and again, that value added thing, you can spend $50,000 now or $100,000 2 years from now when costs for things go up. I agree.
You certainly can. I mean, I think it's well worth putting it out there and doing a survey and throwing it out there. Survey Monkey or something like that, Kendall.
That's a good idea.
And so that right. Yep. And whether or not they read it. If not, Dylan's going to be out there with that whiteboard and that blackboard kind of, doing stuff. So
Well, then it's in constant contact to see what costume I need to wear, if I need to be a horse or a donkey or whatever, holding the sign. So
they might actually pay more attention to it.
We could probably hire somebody to spend the money.
Yes. Yes. Right. So anyway, so I think that's a great way to look and see, because I mean the feedback was pretty good in the chat meeting the other night. But to your point, some people said yes, we need it, and so it just depends.
I don't know. Kendall's there. How many requests do you have for message board information?
What's in the constant contact? Okay. Right. It's just a reminder, is a reminder. So. Well, I can tell you it's very expensive if you get one of those digital billboards on the highway. I can tell you that. So,
That's actually a possibility. You could sell ads on it.
you could sell ads. A display board.
Captive audience at the guard hut. Yeah.
Okay, so we're going to do a Survey Monkey is what I heard, right? Okay, moving on. What's the next thing on there?
Skip pickleball courts. Par 3 golf course. We had a meeting out there regarding the permanent hitting mats. Kind of just went over the scope. I have a contract we'll be bringing next month to get the contractors be pouring the concrete to get that solidified. He has a initial date possibly about May 1st to do the pour. So hopefully that'll come along quick, but we'll have 9 new hitting mats installed, one on each hole. And I believe that's just one for now. There'll be maybe plans for another in the future, but right now we're only looking at one at each hole.
Is that the same kind of mats that we have on the driving range?
Correct. They're same make.
Same make. Okay.
Yep.
And same attributes, if you will. So I can't take a divot out of them like I would normally take. Okay. Does that? Yes, well, some people do try to take divots out of the mat. That's true. And then you also get the people that are upset because they can't take a divot out of the mat. And so that impacts their game. But just asking if they were the same. Okay, thanks.
Lake Management Committee, we met and reviewed Trimarine again, the product to help reduce some of the silt per se in the coves. We've actually got a different contact now at Solitude who's going to be doing it. I think we're going to go back one more time to the committee to solidify what our plans are, and then we'll come back. I think and Cecil can maybe speak to this more now, but we're going to do one kind of pilot project cove and kind of see what the results are. One thing we'll be looking at is trying to get some kind of guaranteed result. We got to talk to the contractor Solitude and see how we can get a contract written up to get some kind of guaranteed result to get payment.
Yeah, we're just vetting out, especially Trimarine in past experiences from use in application, and making sure that, if we're going to move forward with even a pilot project, that there is a guarantee of some sort in the contract that, that we would get X number or some percentage of results. And so it's
That'd
just
be
doing our
interesting.
due diligence before we move forward.
Yeah, there's not much history. This is kind of like a 3-year project, and they have about a 3-year history total using the product. So there's not that much history or, kind of references to go off of. So that's one thing we're looking at. We did go through TCEQ Army Corps. Doesn't seem to be any issues with it. We're not really physically removing any silt, and we don't have anything that we're taking out and depositing anywhere. So they really don't have an issue. Next thing up is playgrounds. We've been looking at, there's a group that's been looking at redoing the playgrounds. Mostly the West Beach, I think right now, is they're just kind of concentrating on that. They've had a designer come out, kind of update everything. We actually have a bid that came back at about $180,000 to redo the playgrounds. I don't know where they stand with the donations, really haven't moved forward with that at all, but just trying to get a scope of what the project is. One thing he did come back with was some things that were not compliant on our existing playground. Some of them are easily fixed as far as removing one seat and taking away some fencing, et cetera. But one thing that's quite costly is the mulch. Playgrounds are supposed to have so much cushioning, and the type of cushioning you use. We need about probably an average of 8 inches. There's some areas that need more, maybe 10 inches, but if you even everything out, it's probably about 8 inches of depth of the playground. It would be both West Beach and the East Beach. You're looking at over 5,000 square foot of area, almost 6,000. I think we did like 5,500 estimate at 8-inch depth of the playground safety rubber mulch. You're looking at $40,000 to $50,000. I'm trying to get an estimate, try to get it in bulk. I looked up, the bags on a pallet. A pallet's going to cost $800 some, and we need 30 pallets. I mean, it's just exponential. The cost of it is just the mulch. Will run $40,000 to $50,000 combined for both playgrounds. We do have $52,000 in ARF. How that ARF money is to be spent and on what as far as replacement. I think the idea was that it was going to go at least towards replacing a playground and not just mulch, but mulch would be part of the playground. Once I get through in the next Ways and Means meeting, I'll propose to them too, is this more of an ARF expense and use the money we have in ARF, which it should be enough money, but that would deplete what we have in ARF for playgrounds. Or get it out of CARF or couldn't be CDRF, but out of CARF, and just how to approach that. I just wanted to bring that to your attention that some things are not in non-compliance, and we'll have to bring it into compliance or possibly close them for a period of time. Summer's getting close, so it's just kind of timely in how we address that. And I don't know any feedback from the board right now, but again, once we get the final costs in, long term, how do we approach replacing the playgrounds, which they are due to be replaced, and just the cost?
I was going to say in the chat meeting, one of the suggestions was for the to go to the Kiwanis, since they continue to raise funds for schools in the Callisburg area, but then they might be interested in doing something or partnering with our POA to do something for our playground. So that was one of the things that came up in the chat meeting.
My understanding on that is that the group that's trying to get donations went to them initially, and they didn't have any interest in doing that at all.
No interest. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. That was just
Well, it's not that we didn't have any interest in it. It's not in our bylaws, our mission statement. we support the students of the Callisburg district.
Mhm.
I mean, I realize there's some students out here. It's just, that's our mission statement. It's not to spend money here. So, and we face the same issue with every time we've, my God, I can't think of the number of playgrounds we've helped rehabilitate over there.
Mhm.
And yeah, this mulch is, we bring an 18-wheeler in of mulch, and usually that's what we do. But, we've got a lot of volunteers to help do that with. So anyway, that's the story there.
Yep. And that was just what came up in the chat meeting. So,
Do we-
Dylan?
We've talked about these playgrounds a while now, right? Do we have like options? Option A, 75,000, option B, like how many square foot of playground? Do we have anything like that? So like once we decide we're going to spend some amount of money, we can pick option A, B, or C and pray to God we don't have to call Bluestone, maybe.
Yeah. I had, well, and that again helped costs go up. I had, is it 3 years ago now? 3 years ago, I had gotten bids done at that time because they were up to be replaced. It was 120 grand at that time to do basically same square footage, new systems, and there's always like some new stuff, but you don't get the same. You get kind of a revised reversion of what you have, and it's 100 to 120 grand probably minimum. The 180 that we got quoted now may have a couple bells and whistles that you gotta change out, but you're probably at minimum looking at about 100 grand.
Yeah, this is just every time we talk about a project here, it's like I would have never guessed. Again, I don't buy safety mulch ever, but that's crazy to me. And I'm sure it's what it costs. I don't think it's off, but yeah, I just had y'all told me 100 grand, and then it comes to 180, and then next thing you know, someone's going to want a 5,000 square foot to be 8,500 square foot, and it's going to be 250 grand. Just so the board, we could kind of like at least have kind of an idea what the three options are. And I'm sure I'm not saying they're cookie cutter, but surely they got option A, B, like the Taj Mahal here, and C. So
Put the pieces together, and the one they got the 180 was expanded a little bit.
So, Carol?
So I have a committee of about 40 people. They're either grandparents or they have children here. And we've worked on this for probably 6 or 8 months ad nauseum on this. We went out for 4 bids. One never came back. And then we got the 3 others. We chose, and I know we've got to bring this back to you, but since you're bringing it up, we chose the one that did the playground at Callisburg Elementary. And I will tell you, and if I'm wrong about Kiwanis, the first one that the Kiwanis did at Callisburg, they did themselves. They put it together themselves. And then the second one they said, no way, Jose, we're not doing this again. And so they let them do it. The problem is it's not the playground that costs a lot of money. The playground that we've chosen is $122,000. And what Larry advised us, which was a really great idea, is let's just work on the west playground and not work on the east right now. And so we incorporated the west playground to include young ones and older ones. And now it encompasses a larger space. We've already marked that out, seen that we can do it with Rich. But then it's $40,000 to install the darn thing. And then you've got another $8,000 because they have to ship it from Kalamazoo. And then that's where it all gets up to the 186. And back to your questions, A, B, and C this is A, B, C, D, E, F. So this is the cheapest. I don't want to say the cheapest because we know they did Callisburg. And so I want to take that in consideration. If you go over there and look at it, they did a really good job. Everybody's happy with it. And he gets back with me on a timely manner. There's just a number of things. And like I said, we haven't totally got the plan done yet, but that's the number. And we were talking about of what covering it. Yeah, that doesn't include a cover on it. It includes covers on like we have now where the slide is and do all that. What we'd like to do is a total cover of the whole thing. And that's another thing when he's talking about the mulch, I just happen to have a landscaper in the family and we do a lot of playgrounds there. So you can either do the kiddie cushion or you can do the what's that called? The rubber stuff. If you do the rubber stuff, it gets hot. It gets really hot. So you're defeating the purpose. So then if you go back and do the kitty cushion and you get it in truckload instead of bags, then it's a whole lot cheaper. Now, you're going to have to replace that because it's going to, go down. So once every 2 or 3 years, you're going to have to replace it. So what scared me was the guy telling us that we weren't compliant. And, I just, everybody sues everybody now. And I'm just afraid if we need to get that playground compliant right now, while we figure out how we're going to do a new playground. Any other questions?
Yeah. So that last comment dovetails into my question. Like, what does it mean to be non-compliant? Is there a state law? I don't know. I've no idea. First of all, I just really appreciate the group taking the initiative to fundraise. It's a great thing. It's a great model for developing infrastructure throughout the community. So thank you. I just want to say that as an aside. But in terms of non-compliance, I mean, I'm just asking out of ignorance. Is there a state law that says what regulates this, or is this like an insurance code thing, or and I'm just wondering, like, what's our exposure for not being compliant between now and whenever this program's initially or eventually installed? And I'm not advocating we shut it down, but I'm just trying to think about what our potential exposure is as we get into the summer months.
To again, from my background was in parks and recreation, and where the park system that I was involved with managing, we had 72 playgrounds. There are standards by which you build playgrounds. It's not necessarily a law, but if you don't build according to those standards, that's where you become liable. So there are entrapment points, there are distances, there are all these standards that need to be accounted for in playground design. Of course, the manufacturers are all cognizant of all of those particular ASTM standards and whatnot. So uh, I've been saying that a long time. We have a lot of issues with our playgrounds in terms of that. But if we're being told now, we are beginning to get a notice that we have some issues with our playgrounds. And so, yes, there are some concerns there. In parks and recreation, that is one of the main areas where you get lawsuits is through playgrounds. We were very fortunate in the 34 years I was there. We had one, but then we had playground technicians that were once every 2 weeks going out there and making certain everything is according to standard. So there's a lot of tools necessary for staff to be able to do that and everything. So it's a very sensitive liability issue with playgrounds.
What in your question, I know what you want is, okay, you can only have 2 swings per bay. We have 3 swings per bay. Easy fix. Go out there and do one. But the problem is when they swing, you have to have 15 feet free. Right now, you could get some wild child that jumps off that swing as it out here and land right on that fence. Okay, and then that's a big one right there. The other one is if you're coming down the slide, there's just one point there that if they were coming 90 to nothing down that slide and come around that corner right there, then again they would run into the fence. So what we're talking about, and what Rich is talking about, is let's just take care of that so that I can sleep at night. That that we don't, and the mulch. I mean, that's no big deal. That hadn't been taken care of, but just the other things his group can do.
Yeah, what we found is that when we built playgrounds, about half the cost was the zone where you would fall and the materials that go in there. The other half of the cost was the actual playground equipment. But about 80% of the accidents that occur on playgrounds is typically involved with the fall surface or lack of fall surface. So that is an absolutely critical piece for doing playgrounds.
Maybe you need it on a message board.
Well, maybe that's part of your playground fund. Just saying. Just saying. Okay, so we're not going to solve it tonight. I would suggest that you get a bid for what the playground would cost and then have a better idea. So that way, rather than spend 50,000 now, and then we have to replace it or add to or do something different later on, then we've sunk more money in it. And so I think you can do that fairly quickly and get those estimates and alternate
Well, we have a
plans.
couple estimates. We have that estimate. The other next step is really if you want to expedite it is do an RFP because we have a couple estimates and different things and get that done and just get bids in and go forward from that.
At the very least, we'll know what it costs and then we can make a better decision because we have a lot of stuff that's on that list that, are nice to haves. Doesn't mean we have to have them. So I would get the RFP done. Is that all right? Okay. All right, go ahead, Rich.
Yeah, and then tail on that, like we got some bids, so we have some ideas. Get the RFP out. Public Works, I'll just go to the Golf Pro Shop Pergola. We got a couple bids in, and again, like the playgrounds, what do you get? I mean, we actually had drawings, specs for it. Got two bids in so far. One 68,000, high 60 somewhere. The other one was over $100,000. So I'm waiting for like another third or fourth bid to see where it is because got almost a $40,000 discrepancy in just two bids on the pergola. Once we kind of get that straightened out, I'd like to get one more. Then that one will definitely have to go out to RFP as well. It's over to $50,000, but I thought I'd tell you that's where we are. The low bid I got for the pergola right now is about 68,000. Road work has started right now, just patching. They've been on Hogan in a few places doing some prep work. After they're done with the large patches, we got overlays we're doing, basically the 2-inch overlays or 1.5, depending on where it is. Going to extend on Kiowa Drive West, basically where we stopped from where the sud work had been done and kind of messed up the road. We're going to continue that around past Huron. We're going to do a section of 1300 block on Kiowa Drive East, 300 block Kiowa Drive East, and then kind of the main entrance area and striping, try to touch that up. And that was kind of hinging too of what we were going to do with the hut. But we'll move forward with that now, and all these will get striping as well. Par 3 driving range, just going along with that. We have going to add a couple of handicap parking spaces there as well. We're putting some bollards in to block traffic to where it should only be golf cart access only. And then trying to get ready for the summer with the beaches and the lakes. And then just doing some other maintenance repairs. Wanted to detail some of these other repairs or other costs. We're talking about ARF. Security chief got a new vehicle. Lodge is getting pizza ovens, conveyor ovens. Hopefully will expedite the timing of pizzas, be able to make them a lot quicker. So that'll be coming with the menu changes as well. I got a new golf cart, or POA admin got a new golf cart. Shouldn't say it's just mine. Compliance uses it too on Mondays to kind of review the golf course, et cetera. Golf marshal got a new golf cart. So, I mean, we're starting the process of, again, ARF expending some of that money. And, if we do have to come at anything that's excessive or over those numbers, we'll bring them to Ways and Means and into the board like we did with the message board. But a lot of them are typical updates and changes.
And a bunch of those, we've waited a couple of years longer than what we originally said.
Yeah, the golf cart was 8 years old. The truck is 7. A lot of these are past what their expected life was supposed to be. Yes, we did. We traded both golf carts. And some of them, I mean, I got a couple of people said, they pay. There's some things, it's easier, and I hate to say it, maybe you could get more selling it, selling it to somebody. There also comes the issue is before when we sold it to somebody, they wanted to go, again, advertise it to everybody so everybody can bid on it. It's just, it becomes a little too cumbersome to sell it that way. So even trade in, sometimes you get a little bit less. It's just easier, cleaner. Security update. You can see the staffing. I think she's still short one person now, actually. Street patrols, we were 506 hours. Total citations, we were 37. And code enforcement compliance, what you talk about is only one citation. They also actually, instilled the stopping the calls, but we did have the ice storm and some other things for the calls, but the calls have, call and passes have diminished greatly. And hopefully, this next month, it'll be almost down to nothing. I think I mentioned some of the things about the lodge. I think there's up to 20 sold now on the lodge as far as the wine cabinets. So there's 11 more to go. I think right now he had 18 sold one in 1 month, sold another month. So if we can just sell one a month for the end of the year, we could possibly have them all sold by that time. Overall program's going really well. Name tags should be installed within the next couple of weeks. So all the cabinets will be tagged. Bar expansion, we're still looking to get some additional information and then send that out to an RFP, waiting on 2 contractors who are working on that. New menu should be coming. Like I said, some of that will be with the new pizza oven. Other things we're looking at is, we talked about it before too, but trying to get a larger West Beach. I have trying to bid to try to see if we remove the volleyball court and turn it into either like a sand volleyball court and double as just a beach. And a couple other small, you can look through that report. And that's about all I got right now, unless anybody has any specific questions.
Questions for Rich? Nope. I'm not aware of any additional business to come before us. So Art, you are?
One thing. There has been some discussion with Indian Creek Fire Department about getting grant money to build a helipad in case someone needs to be airlifted out of Kiowa. So Rich has been involved. It really, would have to be, obviously POA needs to be involved, but the person I talked to is very confident that there's enough grant money out there to be able to do something. So we do need to decide if we like that and if we wanted to donate, or donate's the wrong word, allocate land for that. So that's in process. So I wanted to give you a heads up that, that work's being done. I think it's a great idea. Especially if we can get covered through grants. So I just want to let everyone know that that's something that's being discussed and hopefully actively worked.
Okay. All right. No other business? Are there any other comments from the members? You guys have talked all night.
Yeah, she's been waiting for a while.
Dina Faglat, 719. I wanted to add to some of the other, first of all, on the golf. It is a committee that meets on Tuesdays, and anybody, even a hobby golfer, can show up there and voice their opinion, just like any other committee. And if someone had an interest in being on that committee, they could submit their name to the president and say, hey, I really want to be on this golf committee. So I feel for you, Ronnie, going back again and having to redraft this. I feel like your draft already said what needed to be said, that you request that those people be on that committee. And that would leave her, the president, not her, the opportunity to place anyone on the committee as long as there's 7 members. So I'm sorry that you have to go back and do that again, but I just don't see how the hobby golfer, even if you have 10 on them, I mean, they're not going to be there on Tuesday morning at 9:00. And it's there on Tuesday morning at 9:00 because the golf pro is involved, because the golf superintendent is involved. And it's inconvenient for me. I would love to be there. I can't. I babysit. So, and I'm not a hobby golfer.
It's the second Tuesday of every month at 9:00.
Right.
Okay.
Did I say every Tuesday?
I don't know. You said Tuesday, and I didn't know if it was first or second.
All right.
Or not,
So first, I want to say thank you to Gerald and to Bert and to every other person who has been on the front gate committee. I feel like the project has been snake bitten from the get-go. I've only been here 11 years, but I feel like I have seen at least 6 different versions of the front. I was personally did not understand why we kept redoing the concept. I knew one of the reasons we redid a concept was because of some sewer lines or some water lines that were going to be involved had we went with the third or the fourth version that we had presented. My question is, do we have a solid bid right now? A solid bid? Okay, so I, sitting back here, feel like let's go. This has been so many years. I know we cannot go. What I'm saying is, why are we trying to manipulate the numbers to get it under the 480? Put it to the community. We have waited a really long time to address the security at the front, the gate. So put it to us. Put a vote. It's 30 days. Let us vote electronically and say, this is what it is. It's $526,000 or whatever it is, up to 550. We did this 2.5 years ago, the vote for 480. All of us know, every single one of us knows how much everything has went up, from our bread to our eggs to our water. So I don't think that the community is going to be completely against at least entertaining this, instead of spending more money on another design and we just keep kicking the can. And thank you to those of you who this is your last meeting. I think that's all I got.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Paul Sellers, 1578. Rich, for you first, last one for Alex. The way you said Wednesday start was not a real confident Wednesday. Before we put this out to some of our investors, should we not put it out until they show up? I'm asking your opinion. Yes. Okay. Right. Agree 100% because of the history. Yes, I agree. Nancy, to you and Ronnie, I used to play 8 rounds of golf a week, minimum. I don't play anymore. I joined Rock Creek because I can't come out here and play. I live here for now almost 30 years. If you want me to be that person, I'll volunteer right now. Not that I speak my mind, never do. No. But you've got me as a volunteer, put me on that list. I'm fine with that. I would fit that to a T. Okay. Yes, I don't do anything. Well, I'll play pickleball sometimes, but yeah.
Alex Yakulis, 1633. I want to thank Rich for the update on the pickleball court. I write the articles in the communique for pickleball, and I just haven't had the courage to say we're anywhere beyond a contract. So hopefully I'll be able to go down there, take pictures, and start making a little bit of noise. I have one comment or suggestion. The playground thing was all new to me today. I've been there with my grandson, but the idea that somebody can swing and hit a fence and break an arm or break a neck, why don't we close the playground so that we eliminate the liability until we're ready to open it up and be in compliance? That would just be a suggestion for the board. Secondly, on the watercraft lake rules, I think I've been in 3 of these board meetings, and the tension gets a little heavy between people that have one opinion or the other opinion. And I heard tonight that names were suggested to you, Nancy. You've contacted some people, they've replied. But should we have some separation of people, that maybe representation for people who live on the lake, don't live on the lake, maybe don't have a boat, have a boat? Because I'm afraid if we just wait for the yeses to come in, we might not have a balance of thought. So just my thoughts.
I appreciate that, Alex. And that's the way that we're working on it. That was requested of us, so we're trying to work on that.
Don't need my cane. Lisa McCrae, 1781. First off, I'm right there with Dina. If we need a community vote, throw it out there, give us 30 days. At the end of the 30 days, it's either a yes or no, and you come back to the next board meeting and you vote the sucker in and let's go. Let's move along, little doggy, because it's just costing us more every time. On the golf thing, I think the further that we delay on the golf rules, regulations, and whatever,
the rumor mill just gets worse and worse about what y'all are actually trying to accomplish. Because if you're trying to, everybody knows the rules on how to get into Golf Genius and how you collect, how do you do your times and stuff. If it's just to protect somebody that decides on Wednesday that they want to come to the lake, but the tee time's already taken, that's their bad. I can't help their time management, neither can anybody else. So I mean, I just wish that we would move along with some of this stuff in a faster motion than what we're doing. And thank you for the pickleball thing. I'll be out there with my cooler and my lawn chair. Just real quick, Gerald Smith, 1419. Dan said something that kind of disturbed me a little bit, which was the fire department contacting him. They contacted me too. I chair the land committee. And the question was, can they work with us to designate the old driving range as a location for the helipad? And, you know, it just came up today. And I think there needs to be one point of contact for this with the fire department, whoever that should be. I was going to suggest that either our existing land use committee could meet and talk about it. It would have to come back before the board, have the fire department come before the land use committee and whoever else needs to be there to better understand what they're trying to do. But I think all of us are busy and we don't have a lot of time for Rich and Dan and I to be intimately involved in that process, trying to understand what they want and how they do it. So that's my question. And before we close it out, I'd like to thank Sean, Bria, Larry for your service on the board. You'll have a new life. And thank you for those that are going to return, right? And those other 3 that are coming in.
Any other comments from the members? Gerald stole my thunder a little bit. I just wanted to say that it has been a privilege to serve with Sean and Bria and Larry on this board. And, you know, they don't always say a lot. They're very quiet sometimes, but I tell you what, they carry a lot of value in their opinion and what they do say. And so, if you ever have the opportunity to have them on another board or a committee or whatever that you're on, feel free to ask for a reference because I'll give one for all of them. They do a tremendous job and they make this board awesome. So I just want to say thank you. It's a privilege to serve. So thank you. Thank you. And you have one more meeting, which is actually the annual meeting, which is on the 14th, just so you'll, yeah. Yes, yes, that's exactly right. That's exactly right. I need to make sure we get your right size, right? Oh, all right. We are going to take a break now, and then we will come back for an executive session in about 10 minutes. Thank you all very much for coming and your opinions.